If you're anything like me, you have a version of yourself you want to bring this world, your highest self. And one of the greatest challenges that you may face is struggling with that inner battle where you're fighting that old version of yourself, the old habits, the old programs, the old thoughts, and you're just ready to get rid of that version of yourself entirely. Well, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to become the person that you've always wanted to be. I'm going to teach you the difference between living a life in alignment with that person and the cost of living a life that is incongruent, feeding the old self. I'm going to teach you about the invisible forces and patterns holding you back, preventing you from taking action every day to who you want to be. And I'm going to teach you how to break those patterns. And I'm also going to teach you what the transformation will feel like when you're starting to achieve the inner freedom and the inner state that you're looking for in order to cause the change in the outer world. Now, before I get into the full breakdown, if you want a complimentary training guide / little mini masterclass where you can go through all of the teachings, all the terms, and all the pictures and graphs that I put together to bring this concept and this transformational video to life, go click the first link in the description and join the Telegram, because I posted access to my training asset that is free for you to use. Now let's get into it. There was a period of time in my life 2 years ago where I struggled with the inner battle of living up to a societal standard of success or listening to my intuitive guidance calling me to live in alignment with my highest self. I was making money, running a business with a team of 13 people, but I really, deep down to my core, wanted a slow life and peace of mind. I was traveling the world, living the lifestyle, partying, but what I really wanted was a calm routine and a real, authentic community. I was drinking, smoking weed, ordering Uber Eats, but I wanted a healthy body, a peaceful mind, and a loving soul. I was wearing a mask built by other people's expectations of me, built by societal expectations and societal programs. I was at war with myself because deep down I had this version of myself I knew I wanted to be. I knew I could be because I've had moments where I was that person. But this old version of myself, the old programs, the limiting beliefs were so strong they'd suck me back in and cause me to spiral for weeks to months at a time, breaking up the immense amounts of progress that I achieved. Now, fast forward 2 years, I've learned something that has changed everything for me. You can live a life of peace, joy, fulfillment, and you can also achieve your wildest dreams in the process. I went from $80,000 in debt, burnt out, exhausted, 30 pounds overweight, to leaving that lifestyle behind, being in the best shape of my life. I live in Mexico now. I live a slow life at the beach. I get to go to a calisthenics gym, work out outdoors, eat whole foods. I have peace of mind every day. I have a slow life, and I get to talk about what I love on the internet and make money while doing it. Now, I want you to know that it all starts by mastering your inner world and using the spiritual tools from the greatest sages of all time to bring your highest self to life, to live in alignment with your intuition. Because if you're forever chasing the world, the illusion of 10,000 things, the money, the cars, the validation, the status, you will forever be stuck in a transient loop of suffering. Because it is attachment to the world that has no anchor. So we need to upgrade your operating system and we need to change your paradigm mentally, and that's going to be the first thing we talk about. This is going to be the most important step before I get into the difference between living in alignment with yourself in a congruent form versus an incongruent form. And then I'm going to dive into how to break the limiting beliefs and patterns and cycles that are governing your old self. Because as soon as we can increase your level of awareness of those patterns, they will instantly dissolve on their own. And that's what's so insane about this transformational teachings, is that you actually don't really need to do anything. You just need to increase awareness of the version of yourself that you don't want to be. Unlock that inner state of peace that comes from being detached from it, and then naturally live in alignment with that feeling. So you don't need an answer because it's all intuitive. Now, you cannot become someone new with the same energy that created your current life, and that's probably why you're watching this video, is because you've tried everything. You've gotten to the end of your rope of hard work, sweat on the brow, hustle and grind. It just does not work for you anymore, and you want something that's more in flow, an operating system that aligns with the version of yourself you want to be. And you just in general want more peace of mind, and you're tired of chasing 101 things and 101 quick solutions to make your life better. You can't fight fire with fire. And you can't become a new person while still identifying with the old one. That fight is the prison. that is the thing keeping you stuck. So you don't need a better strategy for beating the ego. You just need to stop the war, because the chains will fall away instantly. The moment you stop resisting, the version of yourself you were fighting dissolves on its own. Now, when you can truly identify that old version of yourself, observe it, and you are ready to let go of it, you will stop fueling that fire. You can effortlessly become who you want to be, not by fighting the old self, but by unplugging from it. Now, what's the difference between this old version of yourself and this new version of yourself? Well, this new version of yourself is someone that lives in alignment, right? Your thoughts match your actions, match your emotions, match your beliefs, and match your behaviors. So when you get that intuitive feeling that you need to get in better shape and eat healthy, you need to make decisions to do so. But the incongruent version of yourself, the version of yourself that is misaligned, is giving in to the pleasures of the world right now. The lure of the world of 10,000 things, choosing the short-term pleasure, the short-term dopamine to alleviate that feeling of uncomfortability. But what you don't understand is that the fact that you're making misaligned decisions is causing the uncomfortability. It's causing the anxiety. It's causing the incongruence. And this is what Carl Jung talks about when he says that we cast a shadow through unconscious living and unconscious programs. Now, when you're living a misaligned life, this inner chaos sets your body into a state of survival, a state of fight or flight. Your body consumes its resources because it perceives this moment as a threat to your safety. Your energy is going to survival mechanisms in the brain and body. You have tunnel vision on your immediate surroundings. That's why you can only focus on the bills or the issues or the annoying coworker or the annoying boss or the commute to work, because you're so in this entrenched state of survival. All you can do is focus on the threats in your environment. Your energy is being consumed in case you need to fight or flee. Your heart and mind are miscommunicating incoherent signals. You have no energy or creative capacity to channel the inner power to be the person you want to be, because you're so entrenched in the chaos of the now. You're not lazy, you're not broken, you're just in survival. And survival doesn't create, it reacts. Now, here's what's on the other side. Because the harsh truth is, living in alignment and congruence is the only way to set yourself free. When you live honestly, you tell the truth, you never cheat anyone, respect yourself, take care of your mind, listen to your heart, work out and eat clean, you are living at your fullest capacity. There is no stone left unturned in your life. You have no regrets. No regrets, that's insane. No regrets, no judgments, and no worries over a misaligned life. Because everything you wanted and more is unfolding in this present moment. You have freed yourself from the survival state of chaos. You are no longer disrupted from being present and operating from peace, clarity, and focus. Because you're not waiting for tomorrow to make it happen, and you're not judgmentative over yesterday, which is keeping you trapped. You're truly present. You found this inner state of peace and clarity and focus to take those proper decisions. Now, we're going to get into how to break the patterns of your old self so you can actually enter the state of the present moment where you're surrendered and you're free from the limiting beliefs, you're free from the negative thoughts, and you're free from all the things that you carry around as baggage. But before we do that, we need to break down what these actual survival loops are. And then I need to break down what it's going to look like when you get to the state you seek. Now, we talked about what it's like to be in that state of survival, but let's say you free yourself from the survival and chaos. You're no longer disrupted. You are no longer replaying the past in your head. You are no longer anxious or fearful of the future. You are operating from a regulated nervous system. Your heart and mind are communicating intention to create your desired life now. So now your only real job becomes this. You need to learn how to restore that inner state of peace, that clarity, that inner regulation required to make aligned decisions for the life you know you need to live in order to be the person you want to be. Because the whole reason you're stuck and the whole reason that old version of yourself is fighting back is because you're fighting fire with fire. You're using your time, energy, and attention, your universal currency, to focus on who you don't want to be. And because you're so focused on who you don't want to be, you're like, oh my God, get that away from me. You have all this anxiety and all this fear and all this guilt. And that low energy frequency is holding you down in a state of force. But if you let go of it, and those thoughts no longer enter your head and those emotions no longer enter your body, you have a clean slate. And from that clean slate, you can start to live in congruence. So we need to figure out how to break free from the old you. But we need to know what the old you is on a biological level. We're multidimensional beings. We're a mind, body, and soul. So we need to understand the inner workings of all of them. Because the mind is all the thoughts. The body is all the emotions. And the soul is this eternal state that we're trying to restore ourselves back to, because it's let's just say it's the state that holds precedence instead of engaging with the illusion of this material world. Now, when I was stuck in that version of myself that was $80,000 in debt, smoking weed all the time, just running from life, I would bounce around everywhere because I couldn't be in one place. I didn't understand that this chaotic, consumptive, and pleasure-driven version of myself was an unconscious program running in my body. I was so judgmentative over the decisions I was making that I couldn't escape the painful attachment I had to that identity. What I had to learn was that our brains are literally wired for repetition. Because when we become so accustomed to thinking the same negative thoughts, or pulling over to that same gas station to get the same Nerds gummy cluster snack, or watching the same show or Thursday night football every Thursday night, we're automatically setting ourselves into the routine. It's all we know. And I've come to learn that when we have the same thoughts and feelings for so long, it becomes a biological program. So as much as we want to identify with it, and as much as we want to play the victim card, we can't. Because when you actually understand what it is, you just realize it's the same neurons in your brain firing in the same way you're used to, and it's the same chemicals being released in your body that you are used to. Because our brains have one job with neuroplasticity, and it's to solidify the neural pathways of our everyday thought patterns. And our bodies want to maintain homeostasis. So they recreate familiar stress chemicals in our daily life because it's what we do every day. Not it's because it's good for us or because it's bad for us, because it's what it's used to. It's objectively running this program on autopilot. Now, these thoughts and emotions, they're going to be running on autopilot unless you become conscious of them. And that's what Carl Jung says when he says, unless you make the unconscious conscious, life will determine you and call it fate. Whatever the quote is. You know what I'm talking about. But the unfortunate thing is that most people are not truly living because they're governed by these unconscious patterns. They're being lived by a program they never choose and they cannot see. So there's this self-fulfilling loop creating an experience in everyday life that we identify with and we call ourselves. This is the invisible force that runs our life on autopilot. And we never question it because it feels like us. It's the only thing we're used to. So now you understand the difference between incongruence and congruence, and how this incongruent version of ourselves is this pattern that we've identified with. Now we need to talk about how to break free from it. So how do we set free, or how do we set ourselves free from these old patterns? Well, you need to understand there's two versions of ourselves, and I'm going to refer back to the incongruent versus the congruent self. Now, I've studied all the cheat sheets. When I was in the thick of it, I was so focused on rewiring my brain. I was so focused on reprogramming my subconscious mind, manifesting my dream life, increasing my frequency, that I created a prison of my own self-development. Now, don't get me wrong, I think those teachings are amazing, but they're second-degree accounts of wisdom. People are going to read these books, listen to these podcasts, watch these videos, and believe them as law, and never go put the things into practice and have the first-hand experience. So just know that I've done the education for the first half of this video, but I'm transitioning all the way into full experiential, you better go do the thing I tell you to do or you're not going to have the experience you're looking for. Now, we are raised on this outdated paradigm of hustle and grind, sweat on the brow, so much that we think it's normal to swim upstream and suffer while doing it. We're so plugged into everyday life that everything serves as a trigger. The work, the same coffee machine, the same people you see every day, the same routine. We're so entrenched in that day-to-day experience, we've identified it as our concept of self and we believe it is law. But here's what the greatest sages of all time have come to realize. We are not our thoughts, We are not the fears. We are not the worries. We are not the past. We are not the traumas, nor the failures. We are not our emotions or the chemicals in the body, because that's all the egoic self. The truth is, we are a state of awareness behind it all. The observational state that is always present, always watching. We are the unconditioned consciousness. Now let's break that down. For most people, they believe they are the conditions, right? The factors in life that are ever changing. The job title, the salary, the husband, the wife, the money in the bank, the fast car, the fame, the influence. Anyone living this life has their sense of self dictated by these conditions, because who they are and what they identify with, and their ego's survival mechanism is dependent upon these things being in their life. Their sense of self-worth, purpose, and fulfillment is attached to the world of illusion, the 10,000 things that are forever fleeting. But what they do not realize is that their state is forever tainted with a distorted perception of themselves. If they never take the time to slow down and anchor themselves to these timeless principles the sages used to help set themselves free and set us free, they're never going to have the transformation they look for. This is why you must live from the spiritual state first. Because so many people are entrenched with their mind and body, but they neglect the soul. But the soul is the eternal anchor. It's the only thing that is not fleeting. That awareness, that observational state. It's the only state that is truly anchored in a baseline presence. Right? This is why we surrender. We surrender the emotions. We surrender the thoughts. We surrender the desire. This is why we let go of all of them. Because then we find inner freedom. And from this inner freedom, we develop a self-referential way of living. Versus the latter, the incongruent self that has an object-referential way of living. And what I mean by that is that when you have a form of self-referral, your inner state is dictated by accountability. It's dictated by responsibility. It's dictated by, hey, I woke up feeling a little out of it because I went to bed late. I didn't eat healthy yesterday. I didn't get my meditation or breath work in. Right? You're taking responsibility for your actions and you're not a victim to the world, but the object referral is a victim. Oh my God, I got fired from my high-paying job. Oh my God, my best friend bought a Ferrari. Now I need to buy a hypercar. You see how your inner state is dependent upon those external things? We can't have that. And the only way that we're going to unlock the transformation you seek is through meditation, breath work, and presence. Now, you've heard of the practices. But one of the reasons you probably struggled with them is because you don't know what the transformation actually feels like. Because below the layer of emotions and below the layer of thoughts, you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Because there's literally nothing going on. Or at least what you perceive to be nothing. Because you're so present. For most people, decades of their life have been so addicted to the chaos of their mind and body that they don't know what it's like to just be present. To just be in a state of awareness or a state of observation. So I want to describe to you the state that you're looking for that's going to be an inner experience. And it's going to be before you could place any word or any emotion to it. It's something that you're just going to be in that state and be like, oh, this is what Grant was describing. I'm going to do my best to describe it with words, but just know it has to be something that you have to experience and practice. The practice is everything because it's devotional. You are devoting yourself to uncovering this state. Now, when you surrender, let go, and truly become present, you unlock a state of oneness, right? Because the mind and the ego and the endless yapping is what makes us have a separate experience. Because you're like, my identity is different than what I'm experiencing. Grant is experiencing life. So there's two causal agents in that. Versus if I dissolve my thoughts, if I dissolve my emotions and I'm present, I've unlocked a state of oneness. And this experience is going to be very profound for people because they become whole. They weren't whole because they were chasing the Ferrari. They were chasing the money. They were chasing the clout. They were chasing the girls. So they were forever empty thinking that those external things would fill it. But as soon as you let go of the program, the ego, the thoughts and emotions in that chaotic loop justifying the state of lack, you have this immediate state of wholeness. And that's why this stuff is like very simple. Not easy, but very simple. Because in this moment, everything you want is here. You just got to let go of the programs and the old outdated paradigm preventing you from experiencing it. This is where all noise falls away. Your thoughts go silent. Your emotions are calm. You become present enough to just notice your breath. Time stands still. And underneath it, you have this profound sense of peace. It is not nothingness, because peace is balance. It's clarity, it's stillness. It is not nothing. You do not need to be afraid of that state, because that's the state you're looking for. All we need to do is retrain our bodies to be comfortable in it. Now, to unlock this state of awareness, our goal is to observe the triggers in our life, right? Observe how stress at home with the kids is causing you to have anxiety. And because now you feel this thought of anxiety, you go to binge eat in the pantry, right? Or how you get caught up in the thoughts of the stress at work and how you have to have this tough conversation with your boss about a project that's overdue. And you feel uncomfortable in your body, so you need to light up that cigarette in the car. This is the loop. But it all starts with observation, because we can disidentify with it and we can remove the emotional charge attached to it and experience the freedom that we seek. Because you'll realize it was our attachment to these people, places, and things, these thoughts and emotions, that pulled us from the present moment of peace. Because when you've unlocked this inner peace and you realize that there's no thing in the external world that could ever give it to you, you're like, oh, so I do not need to give as much weight to the people, places, and things in my life. I'm allowed to be there, I'm allowed to live my life, I'm allowed to experience it, but it doesn't have to dictate my inner world. Now, once again, you will not experience the transformation you seek if you do not have these firsthand experiences yourself through practice. Reading about surrender is not surrendering. Reading about peace is not being at peace. So let's talk about 3 things that you need to do. We're going to go from beginner level to intermediate to master, right? Meditation, this is the easiest way, but it's really just breath work. You want to close your eyes and enter a state where you're not being triggered or taking in all these things from the external world that can more naturally cause your thoughts and emotions to fire. The whole point with meditation is to increase self-awareness. You want a raw experience of sitting with your thoughts, emotions, and triggers as they happen in this silence and darkness. Because you go in with the intention to literally just sit there and not think and be still. When those things start firing and you start thinking a lot and you start feeling the emotions, you're like, that's not me. That's just happening and I'm observing it. You realize it happens and then you're like, wait a second, I didn't choose for that to happen. What's going on here? That's the first step in awareness. The thoughts are happening on their own. You are not them. And when you truly spend enough time in this state, you can move on to the intermediate level, which is learning to channel this awareness into everyday life. You'll come to learn that the state you find in meditation is not dependent upon anything. It is something you can unlock within through practice. You can't find it in life, or rephrase, you can find this peace in life. You can find this peace in work. You can find it during the pain and you can find it during the chaos. Through this practice, you begin to solidify your inner state of experience as you become an observer to the ever-changing world. What you learned in the initial states of meditation, you can bring into everyday life now. So the thoughts about the boss that used to make you smoke the cigarette in the car, or the stress about the kids at home that caused you to binge eat, you're no longer relying upon those external conditions to dictate your inner state. You're saying, cool, that too shall pass. The project at work will be over. The chaos with the kids will be over. But I do not need to engage with it. I do not need to be a victim to the chaos of it. Now, the final state of this, and where you come into a true state of congruence and mastery, is learning to operate from that compass within. Your inner peace, your stillness and awareness that you found in steps 1 and 2 is now your anchor. It is now your default state of being. Just like your default state of being used to be the program, used to be the loop, used to be the bad habits, emotions, and thoughts. You've now spent so much time practicing, you've unlocked this state of mastery where you now serves as your compass. Because you must let go and say no to the thoughts, people, and opportunities that cause anxiety and pull you from the state of peace. This is what living in alignment is. If the smoke in the cigarette or the binge eating pulls you out of alignment, you have to say no to it because it's a walking meditation. Just like you're not going to let those thoughts and emotions dictate your experience in meditation, you can't let this world of external pleasures and chaos and everyone letting the blind lead the blind distract you. This is not avoidance. This is alignment. And alignment is the only strategy that sustains, ladies and gentlemen. So in summary, you cannot take your old version of yourself into the new identity because you cannot become someone new with the same energy that created your current life. That fight is the prison. We are not going to fight fire with fire. Fire with fire. The ego is not your enemy. It's a biological program and your body runs it on autopilot. Now, an incongruent form of life is to identify with that identity and that ego. A congruent form of life is to let go of those patterns and make decisions that we know we need to make, right? This is transitioning from survival to creation, where we were surviving and we were reacting and we were just living life on autopilot, to letting go of that, no longer letting those things dictate us, and step into a state of creation where now we're so present, we get to choose. And this old version of ourselves, unconscious, no choice. New version of ourselves, we're so conscious and we're so present, we can choose. When we're looking at the pantry and we want to have that spoonful of Nutella, we're like, I feel this craving, but it no longer controls me. So let me put it away and let me be healthy. Right? We're operating from peace. We're operating from stillness. We're operating from focus, clarity, and congruence. Now, to get to the state, we have to break free from the old you, but to understand the old you, we can no longer identify with it. We just need to understand that it's a biological pattern. It's our brain's neural pathways that have been solidified because we've thought the same thought so long. It's our body recreating that familiar stress chemical because it's all we've been used to in a state of fight or flight, through the stress at work, the stress at home, the stress to pay the bills. This is where most people are not truly living. They are being lived by a program they never choose to see or engage with. Now, to set ourselves free, we need to realize that we are not the egoic self. We are not the thoughts, the fears, or the worries. We are not the past, the traumas, or the failures. And we are not our emotions or the chemicals in the body. And when you do this and you truly start beginning the practice of surrender, letting go, you'll unlock inner freedom. And you'll realize that you found it within and it was not relying upon an external thing. So you will choose to do the meditation, breath work, and be present because you realize it's your gateway to the inner experience you seek. And as you get really good at this, you're going to be able to take everything you learn in meditation and bring that awareness in everyday life. And because you've gotten so good at meditation, so good at bringing it in everyday life, it's going to become your default state. It's going to be the thing you wake up to, the thing that you're intuitively guiding yourself along with in the form of a compass. Now, everything I've shared in this video is just the diagnosis, right? I hope it's enough to help you see the pattern, to recognize the program and understand why you've been stuck, even though you think you've been doing everything right. Understanding the pattern is not the same as breaking it. Reading about fire does not make you warm. The surrender, the letting go, and the actual engagement of the practice is where the dissolution actually happens. This is the practice that takes you from intellectual understanding to firsthand experience, the kind of experience that rewires your nervous system, not just your thinking. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you want that full guide and that full breakdown and that full training to make sure you have all the proper tools to actually sit and read what I just wrote about, engage with the diagrams, engage with the terms, go click the first link in the description and join the Telegram because that's where I posted it. I pinned it in there. And outside of that, I'll see you in the next one, ladies and gentlemen. I got nothing but love and peace for you, and I wish you the best on your journey. I'm out.